How's it going, everyone? Welcome again, if you watched last night's stream, but welcome to Game 6 of the 2024 Retro event, event number 2, Premier to Cloud City Modified, and this is the de facto finals match against DRTORCH, who is playing light side, and cstyx, who is playing dark side. And looks like we're just about ready to start here. Looks like the table's been put up by DRTORCH. So we got DRTORCH, Paul Feldman, and Ian Monteith, I believe. Sorry if that's not pronounced correct. cstyx on dark side here. And this is again Premier to Cloud City Modified format, where we've essentially the Retro League tournament directors and tournament committee have come up with a banned list, and the banned list is essentially several of what most people consider NPE type cards. So things like inserts and some of the manipulation cards, like I can't think of, Dangerous Time, I believe. Cards like that are banned. So it looks like we have here the 7th marker Wonka Cave, started by cstyx, and the Dagobah system started by DRTORCH. I'd rather have numbers back than asteroids. Asteroids are tricky. Although numbers are, I don't know which one's more MPE. Although I saw your game actually, Jetserdim, and that was an unlucky asteroid hit on the Falcon at the end there. So Ian here starting us off. He's got a good starting pull with the 3rd marker. One of the best, if not the best, starting location, or not starting location, but locations in the game for the dark side, or just in general. And it looks like he's dropping Zuckuss, not Zuckuss and Misshunter, which is what most of you might be familiar with, but Zuckuss, just the alien, is an ability 4 alien, so he draws by himself, and he does have a little bit of immunity to attrition, which in this format, in these types of decks, this early type of format, is not very common that you see a lot of characters that drop Destiny by themselves. I made a couple mistakes in the last turns. A lot of times it's very minute gameplay things. You didn't move to this location, or you moved one turn early, or things like that can really decide the game, especially when the game is decided by several, 2 force, something like that. And that happens often in these formats. It really comes down to the wire. So we see the Dagobah, Yoda's Hut, and the jungle. Oh, and Kashyyyk coming down for Paul here. So pretty good start, activation-wise, for both characters, really. But light side already having the advantage. A lot of people have opted for this Dagobah system start because it provides one of the first ways in the game to have a consistent way to pull your locations. Whereas dark side, in Ian's deck here, is probably just playing a lot of locations, maybe up to like 10 or 12 even, and just has to find them. And so it's possible that he never does find them, and that can be a big problem. But for light side, having this ability to pull a location every single turn with Dagobah's ability there, the game text, is really powerful. And it also lets you look in your reserve deck, which is also something that's not common in these early formats. So Yoda Stew played by DRTORCH to cycle some cards back into his force pile, and a drain of 2 by cstyx here. And Torch loses a grappling hook and another Yoda Stew. So yeah, these formats, early formats, Premier to Hoth, Premier to Cloud City, very slow, because maybe an open, and I don't really play open, but I've seen or heard of turn 2 you're activating 12, 15 force already, and here we're activating 9 and 8, and that's actually pretty fast, considering. So pretty quick start for Ian. He had Vader, Saber, and Zuckuss here really early on. So Paul's already looking at a drain of 3 at the defensive perimeter, the 3rd marker. So let's see what answers he can come up with. As we see, there's the sight pull from the Dagobah system. Again, very powerful mechanic this early in the game. In later formats like Premier to Death Star 2 A big one you'll see is Insurrection, Imperial Arrest Order, which can pull docking bays, which is why the game evolved or devolved into fighting over docking bays. And we see here Do or Do Not coming from Paul and Yoda. It's very interesting. So Do or Do Not is one of the first forms of SAC, Sense Alter Control hate. It just makes them lost, and then if they're successful when they draw Destiny, that player loses 2 force. So it disincentivizes the other player from playing that. And they really have to start picking the times in which they do want to play that. Now we see Uncontrollable Fury come down, which is prior to this format, Vader by himself was a powerhouse. No problem dropping Vader, Saber, and Tarkin, and they're basically invincible. However, Uncontrollable Fury then makes Vader somewhat of a liability because now, as long as the opponent has a character of ability greater than 3, which Yoda satisfies, and Vader doesn't battle, now Vader's pinging Darkseid back for 2 force. And, if you didn't know, it also removes Tarkin's ability to cancel Battle Destiny, which is relevant, and Vader no longer adds 1 to the Destiny draw. So very good anti-Vader card. Of course, there are counters, such as You Are Beaten, which counters Uncontrollable Fury, but we'll see if cstyx can find them, and if maybe Torch is running more, or maybe cstyx is running more, You Are Beaten's, who knows. But that definitely gives some damage potential now for Lightside. And then we see Control stopping the drain at the defensive perimeter, so very efficient use of cards there. Control being one of the cards that gets added in Dagobah, a very game-changing card in my opinion, because it really changes the way the Sense Alter battles unfold, and it also gives a great way to, I don't say permanently, but temporarily anyways, reduce force loss from drains. And it gives an answer to things like Ice Storm and things like that. So very game-changing card. I'm curious to see if Darkseid is running any Sense Alter Control. I'm sure he is. That's just generally what this Vader type deck usually runs. This basically signals that Paul is probably not running any Sensor Alter. He's definitely running Control, which we just saw, but it's unlikely that he's running Sensor Alters. Hey, how's it going, Luna? Nice to see you. And there's the You Are Beaten, canceling Uncontrollable Fury off Vader. So halting the force loss from the Uncontrollable Fury. And it looks like Ian had to dig for that as he goes up to 13 cards, now at risk for Grimtash. Yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm just commentating on this card game I play. I'm good, how are you? So we see another site pull from Paul with the Dagobah system. He's undoubtedly also checking by process of elimination what cards are in his reserve deck, or I'm sorry, in his force pile, and which will tell him if he wants to draw up or maybe deploy this turn. And there we go, another Uncontrollable Fury. So a great way to deal damage back to the dark side. And honestly, in some scenarios, you can get in a situation where Lightside doesn't need to do anything and just sits with Yoda on Dagobah, which is basically untouchable, and Uncontrollable Fury is pinging for 2 force. That's definitely viable. I've done that in games, and it can be very tough to deal with. It is fun. If you want to learn this game, send me a message, a Snapchat or whatever, and I'll play with you. Love to have more players. We also see Kessel coming from Paul. So it looks like, this is interesting. So before I get into that, so Yoda Stew coming from DRTORCH, Sense coming from cstyx, and he plays another Sense on the altar, and we see a Sense Alter battle. So DRTORCH is indeed running some altars anyways, and it looks like Ian has a ton of senses, so very interesting. Remember, every one of the senses and the altars are lost, but if cstyx ends up having to draw Destiny and it's successful for a Sense, he's going to lose 2 force. So you really got to make sure that that's what you want to do with the Do or Do Not. And he draws another Sense. And so that's successful, which means he's going to lose 2 force from the Do or Do Not. So cstyx really did not want Paul to get that Yoda Stew off. And He might have been trying to drop his doubles, but Paul drops his alters anyways in the sense alter battle, so maybe that was a better play for Paul. Just, I want to get rid of my alters. Oh, here's a perfect way to get rid of my alters, and I cost you 2 force in addition to the sense, so 3 force. So interesting play right there. Yeah, so Luna, you basically, there's a light side character and a dark side character in this game. It emulates kind of Star Wars. We see Darth Vader coming down. These are Hoth locations, so this is the Hoth defensive perimeter. Yoda here on Dagobah, just like in the movie. And then you battle, and you can fight with lightsabers. Another control stopping the drain, so very efficient use of force again by DRTORCH. And there's characters like Darth Vader, Yoda, Luke, Millennium Falcon, things like that. And a very fun game, very complicated. It's a hard game, but very fun. So back to what I was saying with Kessel. So Kessel and Kashyyyk are good systems for light side to drain at. Kashyyyk is somewhat safe because it requires 6 stability for dark side to draw Battle Destiny, which can be kind of hard to do. And of course, Kessel is the infamous drain of 3 that is very difficult for dark side to deal with, especially if they're not playing a lot of space. Interesting here that Paul decides to kill the reactor terminal with alter, even though he's going to take 2 damage here. Reactor terminal definitely can be a card that you don't want to keep on the table, especially if you have someone who knows how to track really well. So loses another Yoda Stew and a Tunnel Vision and the alter for the reactor terminal. So Darkseid will not have a way to get this back, most likely. So that, one thing you can do with reactor terminal is drop, most of your deck and then just put everything back, and that way you craft the perfect hand, and then you can track everything back and set up some crazy battle destiny. So interesting choice to kill that reactor terminal, probably the long-term play to benefit in the long term. Well, okay, yeah, Luna, we'll get in touch after this, and let's play sometime. I'd love to teach you, and I know the community would love to have more players. This game hasn't been in print for now 24 years, so the more players, the better. So looking forward to talking with you. And cstyx finds the other You Are Beaten. So he's just digging for those You Are Beatens to cancel the Uncontrollable Furies. And let's see does Paul have another Uncontrollable Fury? Because if he does, and he can lock down the drain here somehow, then cstyx is doing no damage and taking 2 damage, 2 ping from the Uncontrollable Fury. Yeah, I'm still in California, and if you're still on the East Coast, then yeah, we're 3 hours difference. So right now it's 7 p.m. my time. X-Wing coming down to Kessel. So what this says is, I don't think you run space. Prove me wrong, or otherwise I'm just going to drain very efficiently for 3 every single turn. So if cstyx is not running any space, this is a big problem for him. And we see the training area search for Torch and his draw step. So he's likely looking to see, does he want to draw up now? Or does he just want to wait, and the card he's looking for is maybe in the next 12 cards? Because we do see a verify, so unknown if he's doing Jedi testing or not. Here is Monarch Lost from Ian, and we see that he looks like he got 2 Son of Skywalkers, which is probably nice for Ian. Let's see, Great Warrior, so he is doing Jedi testing. Jaren Webb, Noble Sacrifice, that's an interesting card. So he does get 2 Son of Skywalkers, that's unfortunate. He does have quite a mercenary. Obi-Wan Kenobi, it could be worse. Clash of Sabers, Grappling Hook, another Yoda. So in addition to grabbing the 2 Son of Skywalkers, cstyx does get some good information. He does see Jedi testing, Jaren Webb, quite a mercenary, so Ellising anywhere is risky. Here comes the drain. Drain a 3. See if he plays It Could Be Worse. It looks like he's just gonna take the drain, I think. The risk with It Could Be Worse is if cstyx is playing It's Worse, then he just plays It's Worse on top of, and in response to It Could Be Worse, and instead of reducing the force loss by whatever 3, he increases it by 12, and now Paul's taken a force loss of 15, and that could just be game ending right there. Okay, loses a grappling hook and at a commission. If you click the lock next to the chat box, it will stop the auto scroll. Oh, you're trying to look at what? Yeah, I know. Thanks, Jetsardem. So, okay, so cstyx deploys the War Room. Dark Side War Room of this kind means that cstyx is almost certainly playing the Responsibility Command combo. Yo, Dyer's Eye, what's up, man? Oh, yeah, thanks. So the only, not the only, but probably one of the biggest reasons to play the Dark Side version of the Hoth War Room is for the Responsibility Command combo. Not combo, but card, which you put it on I think it's a Rebel Leader or a Rebel of forfeit over 6 or something like that, and they cannot force drain or battle at that location, and it's a Utini effect. And of course the combo then is you play that on Han or Luke or somebody, and then you play Much Anger in him, which is essentially like Order to Engage, where if Lightside has presence at that location and they didn't battle, which they can't battle with Responsibility Command, then they lose 4 force. So you just park someone in front of them and they can't battle and are taking 4 force a turn. No, I generally only schedule or only stream the last couple games of each tournament. So this is a 6-round tournament. We play once a week or 1 game a week because we have to schedule games with opponents all over the world. And so this is round 6, game 6, and so this is actually the championship game right here. I stream from time to time, not really regularly. It's not very often. I wish I could, but it's not very often you get high level games like this getting played that I'm able to stream. So cstyx here drawing up a massive hand. He's probably looking for something to I don't know what he's looking for, to be honest, but Paul right now draining for 3. cstyx also draining for 3. I'm curious what cstyx is looking for. So let's see what Paul does here. He didn't draw up last turn. Let's see if he draws activates everything. So he's making sure that this wasn't the last card. So he activated 13, activates 14, which tells me that the card he wanted is probably potentially this card. And that's a small trick that players do. They'll activate. He shuffles his own deck. That's an interesting play. I wonder why he did that. But so Torch activates all but 1 and then checks what that 1 card is. Now he knows how much he has to draw, or if that's a card he doesn't care about, so maybe uses 1 force to do something. But it's a way to. The more cards you know that are in your deck, the more beneficial it is to you. So let's say if this is a high destiny, maybe he wants to cycle it back, or maybe he wants to draw it and then cycle it back some other way. But he at least now knows what the top card of his force pile is. So he's either going to draw it for the next card, or if he uses force, he'll know that it'll be the last card in his use pile, and then it'll be the last card in his reserve deck when he recirculates. So just one way to another Uncontrollable Fury. So there we go. So this is interesting now. Although the lost piles have, 7 more force loss for DRTORCH, DRTORCH is now doing 5 points of damage a turn, whereas cstyx is only doing 3. And Paul, DRTORCH, of course, is pretty efficient here. He's got an X-Wing and Kessel, handful of systems, and meanwhile cstyx has, a couple locations too, but he's got 2 characters out. So we'll see what the math looks like, as both players end up drawing a huge amount of cards in the hand. So we'll see who finds the Grimtash or Monarch. Yeah, very curious here. So for those who don't know, I mentioned it last night, but there's currently going another retro event, which is the Premiere to Tatooine format, which is in commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. And we see Zuckuss moving over with Ellis Hellrot. He's likely trying to bait the Quite a Mercenary from Paul, but Quite a Mercenary only works for Imperials. And so it's probably a bait. I think if he plays it, it just does nothing, I think. It looks like the timer is still on Torch. He does play it, and it doesn't do anything. But it does go to the used pile, so he might be just trying to cycle Force 2. So he does play the control, which is nice. Oh, it does. I'm sorry, that's my mistake. Quite a Mercenary does. I'm thinking of Uta Guta solo. I'm the one making the mistake, which is why I'm not in the championship game. So he plays Quite a Mercenary, which gets rid of Zuckuss, but it also puts a 5 on top. And so this gives probably Paul an opportunity to maybe come down in for a beatdown. And if we scroll up to see if Paul drew for his turn, he did. Okay, so Paul now knows that there's a 5 and something on top. And we see 3 vehicle and 3 characters coming down here, which is a drain of 2. So Ian, now facing 5 damage a turn, is forced to spread out. Now we also know that the Circle of Now Complete is not in Ian's hand because he drew it for Destiny, and he also doesn't have any force saved. So it's possible that Paul comes down, maybe with Obi or someone to beat down on here. And we'll see. But right now it's 25 to 29 in favor of light side. So light side at this point would win if nothing else changes, I think, right? Because we're draining for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think it might be a turn off, but actually no, I believe that. Wait, I did the math wrong. I'm sorry, 32 to 28, no, 27. Excuse me. It's okay. So another Son of Skywalker coming down, and we already saw Jedi testing. Now remember, the 3rd card in the used pile is a 5, and so barring anything like broken concentration coming down, it's very likely that Jedi Test 1 gets completed, which turns this into a Force Drain of 1, and this into a Force Drain of 1, and effectively swings the game completely in light side's favor. So, and there's the Tunnel Vision, great card in this format. When you partner it with the ability to look in your reserve deck and by process of elimination know what is in your force pile, it's a great card to have, a great card in this format. So Zuckuss gets placed out of play. So now we have a 5 on top as the 6th card, and a 3rd card is a 5. And so Paul potentially setting up some destinies here. So we'll see what ends up happening. So he might end up taking a drain of 3 and 2, and then on the edge, nice. So here we go, retrieval coming from Paul. We know that's the out of commission. and ends up retrieving 4. Now if he runs 2 of these, we do know that the third card is a 5, so he could potentially lose 2 off the top, play another on the edge with the 5 that's the Quite a Mercenary, and get the first Quite a Mercenary back. And then you just keep looping those. And so if he has, say, a control, he could, take 2 from here, maybe plays the control to cancel this, and then retrieves 4, getting back the original on the edge, draws it on his turn, plays it, and just keeps looping that, and then that can be just game ending. So he's losing off the used pile, so he must not have that in hand. Loses Clash of Sabers too. Let's see if he has the control. We do know that he has It Could Be Worse in hand, but again, very risky. Oh, unfortunately, loses control from used pile. We do know that he has It Could Be Worse, which again is risky to play if cstyx is running It's Worse. So we'll see what ends up happening here. cstyx, of course, really wants an answer for Uncontrollable Fury, because if he doesn't deploy Broken Concentration, I think he's in trouble, and he doesn't. Okay, I think Darkside is in some trouble here, because he's going to be facing drains of 5 that conceivably he can't really do. See you later, Luna. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you in a bit. So cstyx looking at facing 5 damage a turn, whereas Paul, after completing Jedi Test 1, is only going to be facing 2 damage a turn, and he also has It Could Be Worse, which you could just loop endlessly, really, depending how the game turns out. I actually did face Paul in a game one time where he had It Could Be Worse and was just drawing it every turn and playing it, stopping my drain. Ooh, Grimtash lost. Ooh, this is interesting. Here comes the Sense. Let's see if we see what I think we might see. Does he have the Alter, the Control? No, he doesn't. He draws Control, but he still is going to cause 3 force damage to cstyx for that Sense. So cstyx must have thought it's more efficient to just lose 3 cards than potentially whatever else he has in hand. But anyways, Paul was looping It Could Be Worse, and my only out was I was playing Set Your Course for Alderaan. I had to move the Death Star over all the way to, I think it was Endor, to get an extra drain down. So it was like, 8 turns of moving the Death Star 1 parsec at a time. And finally I drew it, and I ended the cycle of, I drained for 2, It Could Be Worse for 2. So it's, and late game you can definitely get in a situation where that's possible, and that could just lock the game down. So likely to see Paul activate only 2 to get to the 5. And here we see cstyx losing 2 from Uncontrollable Fury. Trying to see what else Paul retrieved. Okay, he lost, I think, most of the high destiny. I think he activates 2, does Great Warrior, and then drains, and then is happy doing 5 damage a turn to 2. Oh, interesting. He goes all the way down to 2. Was that what card was that? He might want to, Quite a Mercenary might also be, he might want to draw the Quite a Mercenary. And so I gotta think you have to get Test 1 complete this turn. Oh, okay, so you had a 5 there as well. Maybe I'm not paying attention. When I'm playing my games, if I'm paying attention to anything else, I can't track. My wife comes in and talks to me, I'll lose track. So, and oh, I forgot with the lightsaber too. So Paul's doing 6 damage a turn, 3 at Kessel, 2 from Uncontrollable Fury, 1 from the Drain here. And now with test 1 complete, cstyx is doing 2 damage a turn. cstyx has to find an answer here. There's control, that's fine. So again, nice efficient way to stop a drain. But we're looking at, so 25 to 22. And now Torch has, it could be worse though as well. And here comes the Falcon with Boshek, so just adding more force drain. And Paul very cognizant about this here, knowing that this screams responsibility command. And so he does not want to deploy Boshek or a rebel like Han, because then it just blanks out that drain. So nothing really that cstyx can potentially do about this unless he runs his own space, but I think at this point it's almost safe to assume that he doesn't have space. And generally this type of Vader deck, if it's the ground heavy version of this deck, will not run space. And so we see the drain of 1. Which, let's see if Paul starts looping the It Could Be Worse. And there it is. Let's see if Ian plays It's Worse. Now the thing that you might not know is that Jedi Test 1 actually stops It Could Be Worse from adding damage to the Force Drain. So although It's Worse will cancel It Could Be Worse, it will not add to the Force Drain bonus, because it's considered, I think, a Force Drain bonus and canceled by Great Warrior. So Torch loses control from hand. Control now not being as critical because these are drains of 1, so canceling a drain of 1 with 1 card is, no different. Here comes Imperial Decree. Now Imperial Decree will slow the game down a little bit because it'll stop the drain of 1 at Yoda's hut, and it'll turn the Kessel drain into a drain of 2. And the easiest way for Darkseid to satisfy this in this situation is any of the hot sites. So likely Vader's going to move over to probably the War Room, and we see Ian come down at the 3rd marker. So it's going to turn now. Light side will be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage a turn to Darkseid's 3. Here comes Noble Sacrifice. Nice. And the control. And cstyx plays Sense to cancel, but he can't. That actually won't cancel it. Here comes another Sense. It actually doesn't matter. It's going to fail, right? And it's lost. So it's. I think that's a play error to activate all your force. And Torch retrieves 9. Huge retrieval by Dr. Torch. So he plays his controls. I think Torch might have forgot too that it's gets canceled, or it just makes them want to lose it. And that's it. GG is called. So Jetsardin Utini effects cannot target things on Dagobah, which is why you can't play it on that. And Dr. Torch wins Game 6 and is going to go on to win the championship here. Fantastic game back and forth between the two players. And it looks like, Dr. Torch goes ahead and wins Game 6 to take the first place in this tournament, in this event. And second place, I think, will be decided by strength of schedule. So we'll see how that ends up going with the rest of the 4-1s. So it depends on who wins and the strength of schedule, how that shakes out. But congratulations to Dr. Torch on taking first place. Very nice game. And so anyways, thanks everyone. Couple quick things. Premiere to Tatooine is currently going on now. 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. I'm playing in it. It's a pretty fun format if you like pod racing. It's at least an interesting unsolved format anyways, or not very popular, so you can think of it as unsolved. And after this event, we're going to take a break in the Retro League and play the annual charity retro event, which will be Classic No V, which is all the Decipher cards except no maintenance cards and no Episode 1 cards, which ends up being something like Premier Reflections 2 with a couple overpowered cards added on top. No pod racing or shields. So, looking forward to seeing you all on GIMP or Discord or Slack, and thanks for joining us.